Hey everybody, it's Adrian from Zanza's Toys. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving, as much as that's possible in 2020. I know I had a more subdued one than normal, but I was with my wife and my son and our dog, and even got to see some friends in the park, so I'm grateful for all of that. But what I want to talk about today is a coffee maker. I've made various 1/18 scale accessories for the holidays. I've made a turkey in a pan, various pies, champagne and beer bottles to keep things festive, and if you need more seating, I've got fold-up tables and fold-up chairs. So this year I thought I'd do something for after the big meal and make a coffee maker. So normally this is where I step through the various iterations and what changed about each, but in this case pretty much the first print is pretty much just worked. So I wanted to make sure there were a couple play features, so I made this kind of squared off intentionally because I wanted to make sure that this could open. So if I open up the basket, we can take out a coffee filter with some grounds in it, and I can also remove the coffee pot itself, which is hollow. So I started this by just roughing out this piece. So I made kind of this, you can see this is a pretty simple shape, so that was pretty easy to put together in FreeCAD. And then once I had that, I started working on this basket, which it's not very complicated, but it's definitely the print in place hinge is definitely the most complicated bit of this whole project. So I started making the basket as a separate piece in FreeCAD with the intention to print like this. So this is how it prints. It prints laying down on the bed like so. And then you kind of just work it back and forth a little bit to get the hinge to work. Made this shape as a separate piece, exported both of them, and then I brought it into OpenSCAD and combined them. I certainly could do that kind of thing in FreeCAD, but it's the kind of thing that I often prefer doing in OpenSCAD. It did mean that I had to do a little bit of finagling to move, then rotate, then move this part. So when I'm making stuff in FreeCAD, I generally make each of the parts where they're going to end up. I really should bite the bullet and learn the assembly features and just use that instead, but that's not actually what I did here. So I made the parts in FreeCAD where they were ultimately be, with all the rotational elements centered at the origin. So what that meant is that the hinge was actually offset. So when I brought it into OpenSCAD, that's all fine, but I ended up with something like this. So what I needed to do was to rotate 90 degrees, but I needed to rotate the basket part by 90 degrees around the hinge. So this is a pretty standard thing in 3D graphics in general. You move something to the origin, then rotate it, then move it back. And that's basically how you get rotation around anything other than the center point. So that's what I did in OpenSCAD, and that pretty much gave me the coffee maker. The pot was a little more involved, mainly just because it was a little tricky. Not really, but it took a little bit to get the handle and the spout just right. And I do want to point out something that's kind of interesting. So there's this little, if I get right up close to the camera, you'll see that the handle of the pot has a little sort of foot, and that's there for a very specific reason. First off, it does actually provide some built-in support, so that's kind of nice. But the main reason it's there is actually that I wanted this to not fall out very easily. So you'll see that I added this lip at the bottom, and this little divot there hooks over the ridge in the bottom of the coffee maker, and it kind of keeps it from moving around too much. So it keeps it a little more stable than it would be otherwise. So that was pretty much it. The filter was really easy. That was just a simple revolve. I made two versions, both an empty filter and a full one. I did add a couple of small tweaks to the first version, but pretty much I just printed it out in the appropriate colors. I was really happy with the way this came out, so I just printed it out again in black for the coffee maker itself, and some translucent plastic for the coffee pot, and of course some white plastic for the filters. Once I had all that, I just added, did a little bit of painting. So I used just a paint pen to add a little bit of silver. That could definitely be done a little bit better, but of course painted some coffee grounds brown, and used a paint marker pen again to add some details to the pot itself. So that's pretty much it. But once I had the coffee pot, I also wanted to make sure there was some place to get the beans from. So I also made a little bag of coffee beans in blender. So this went together pretty easily. I just so this is a rare thing that didn't touch FreeCAD at all. So what I did is I just made a really simple polygonal shape as a base. Once I had a base polymesh, I used the voxel retopologize tool and then sculpted a bit, and ended up pretty happy with this. It's a little hard to see the shape because it's all black plastic, but I painted a label on this one and you can kind of see a little bit better. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. We've got our coffee beans. We've got our coffee maker. We've got empty filters. We have filters with coffee grounds. And if we open up our coffee maker and put our grounds and filters in, grounds and filter in, and close it up, and we can take our coffee pot, put it right in there, and in a little bit we'll be ready to enjoy some delicious 1/18 scale caffeinated beverage. Yeah, so that's about it for this week. I hope you enjoyed watching that. If you want to get the files for this or any of our other Thanksgiving and holiday themed 1/18 scale accessories, I'll have links down below. Stay safe and try to have the best possible holiday you can this year. I know it's a rough time for everybody, but I hope you all have a wonderful holiday regardless. And if you want to see more content like this, please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. It really means a lot to me, and it goes a long way to helping me continue to produce content like this. So, thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.